Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up on today's show, I'm going to be reacting to an article released by The Athletic, and it was the biggest takeaways from Raiders minicamp and OTAs. It's officially the offseason here for the Raiders, and we're looking forward to training camp, but I still want to be able to get more notes, and I'm a very transparent person. I'm not at Raiders practice, so when I saw Tashan Reed from The Athletic release an article about some of his takeaways from him being at practice, I wanted to be able to sit back and go, you know what? I want to see what he has to say because there's some really interesting stuff in this, but I also wanted to be able to give my opinion because I don't agree with everything that Tashan said. I don't agree with everything that The Athletic said, and that's okay, but I still wanted to be able to give my opinion because there's a lot of really, really interesting stuff that comes from this video right here. So if you appreciate free Raiders videos every single day, I want you to click that like button. And if you don't click that like button, then the Chiefs might win their third straight Super Bowl. So here's the thing. You like free content? Click that like button. If you don't click it, in my book, you're rooting for the Chiefs to go 3 straight Super Bowls. My eyes, I'm looking at all of y'all. So here's what The Athletic did. They released an article about 5 things that they learned from OTAs and minicamp, and the first thing that they said was that the quarterback situation for the Raiders is concerning. And the way that I'm going to do this is I'm just going to roll through all the quotes that Tashan has, and then I'm going to give my 2 cents on them. So here we go. Tashan Reed, both Aidan O'Connell and Gardner Minshew struggled during OTAs. They split snaps with the first string fairly evenly, but neither found much success during the practices that were open to reporters. The quarterback and the rest of the offense are still in the early stages of getting comfortable and coordinated to Luke Getsy's offense. Understandably, there have been some growing pains, but it's still troubling that neither O'Connell nor Minshew displayed much progress results-wise by the end of OTAs. Both quarterbacks struggled to push the ball downfield, had too many off-target throws, and frequently put the ball in harm's way. The Raiders will need better than that to avoid the offense being a liability yet again. The good news is there's still plenty of time for O'Connell and Minshew to get better in training camp before the season arrives. And, here's the honest opinion of everything that he had to say there. I expected, and I think most, I'll call them rational Raider fans, I want O'Connell to do well. I want Gardner to do well. But, if you were to tell me, put my money where my mouth is, if I'm actually going to bet on something, I'm going to bet on the fact that the Achilles heel this season for the Raiders is going to be the quarterback room. I believe in the defense, and maybe that's part of the reasons why the offense struggled a little bit. It is still early. I don't think that there's really a necessity to hit that panic button, but the Raiders need to pick the quarterback between AOC and Gardner that takes care of the football the best. You need to be able to rely on your defense. I want the QB that even if you told me I can get Gardner Minshew for 24 touchdowns, but he's throwing 15 interceptions, or I can get Aidan O'Connell that's throwing for, 20 touchdowns, and he only turns the ball over 4 or 5 times. I'm going with AOC every day of the week. The Raiders aren't going to win games because of their quarterback play, but you need to be able to find the QB that doesn't make you lose games. Take care of the football, rely on this great defense. That's how this team's going to win games here. So let's talk about it. Be honest with me. It's going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. I want you to scroll on down because you're about to get it with the YouTube ad break and give me that honest answer. Your confidence level in the Raiders quarterback room, scale it from 1 to 10. 1, it's the worst quarterback room in the National Football League. 10, it's the best quarterback room in the National Football League. My answer to this is a 3. I don't have a lot of confidence in AOC. I don't have a lot of confidence in Gardner Minshew. But it's also because you have to add everything else into that equation. You got a brand new offensive line coach. You have totally new running backs. You have a brand new offensive coordinator. And when you add all of that stuff together on top of a quarterback coach and Rich Scangarillo that I don't really trust all that much, that's why I don't have a lot of confidence in this quarterback room. But man, oh man, I hope that they prove me wrong. Let's go to number 2 here of what the Athletic learned from the off-season practices that have gone down. There is no edge in the cornerback room. So some of you are like, what do you mean no edge in the cornerback room? Basically what the reports are that, the Raiders know that their defense is going to be good, but who's going to be that next corner that steps up and can play next to Jack Jones and Nate Hobbs? Here's what Reed had to say. The Raiders defense returns 9 starters and adds another one in defensive tackle Christian Wilkins, which leaves outside cornerback as the lone unsettled spot on that side of the ball. Throughout OTAs, Brandon Faison and Jacorian Bennett rotated in with the starters. Faison is a sizable advantage in experience. He's going into his 7th season while Bennett is heading into his 2nd and received more first-team reps in practices open to reporters. Faison isn't a dynamic athlete, but his length, 6'2", sharp technique, and clean footwork hold up well in coverage. Bennett is more of a gambler who relies on his speed and athleticism. He doesn't hesitate to take an opportunity to make plays on the ball. They were both solid throughout OTAs. Now, I will say this. I expected that it would be between Jacorian Bennett and Brandon Faison. I gave the advantage to Jacorian just because I believe that he has the higher upside. But you could see a situation that, the Raiders can cut Faison and they can save $2.6 million. Maybe it's a reason that they haven't done it yet is because they want somebody that doesn't want to gamble. Like, they believe in their defensive line. And if you have somebody out there doing solid technique, not getting beat deep, that kind of fits the mold of a Patrick Graham defense, a little bit more of the bend but don't break, where Jacorian, we saw last year, gambled and he got burned a lot. I do still think it's early for Richardson and Devonshire, who, both have done pretty well. I know that, MJ Devonshire had an interception on practice, I want to say on Wednesday during minicamp. And they got some upside, long, lanky guys. You could see maybe a little bit more used for special teams. But I am hoping that Bennett can take that leap forward, because if you were to tell me, Mitch, what's the highest peak that our defense could reach? Is it Brandon Faison playing at a high level, or is it Jacorian Bennett playing at a high level? I'm going to say it's Jacorian Bennett playing at a high level. Also hear what Reed's had to say on more of the cornerback situation. Like the quarterback competition, the cornerback battle will continue into training camp. Although the Raiders prefer to find an answer in-house, they have plenty of cap space to explore their options on free agency if they aren't satisfied as the season draws closer. So as it stands right now that I'm making this video, you got about $34.1 million in salary cap space. That's top 6 in the NFL. If it's up to me, here's how I'm going to rank the cornerback targets that the Raiders should go out and get. I have Stephon Gilmore now ranked higher than Xavier Howard. If you haven't seen some of the stuff come around Xavier, it's not great, and because of the headache behind it, I just put Stephon Gilmore at number 1. Like, that's how close they were for me. Then there is a little bit of a tier break. Adoree Jackson had a career year back in 2021 with Patrick Graham. Patrick Peterson played with Raiders safety coach Gerald Alexander last season, and Peterson, yes, is still listed as a corner, but I think that he could be a little bit of a hybrid veteran at age 34. And then I'm going to go with Keon Crossan. If I got to throw another name in here, he's been with the Miami Dolphins, so he does actually have some relatability, if you will, with some of these guys from Miami over the last 2 seasons. But then also, he was a corner in 2021 with the New York Giants with Patrick Graham. So, these are clearly the best 4. If I had to pick a sleeper option that has connections with our coaches, I'm going to go with Keon Crossan. If the Raiders sign one of those corners, I promise you this, Chugs and I, we're going to be going live here on the Raiders Report. So anytime that you see breaking news happens, I want there to be 2 things in your mind. The first thing is I want you to celebrate, because when the Raiders bring somebody in, that's what I do. I'm like, all right, man, let's have a good time. Let's party. It means I get to hang out with the nation. The second thing that you need to do is make sure you tune in when we go live here on the show. And you know what? F it. 3, if you're not subscribed, that's the third thing that you need to do. When the Raiders do breaking news, there's nobody that covers it like we do. There's nobody parties like the Raiders Report. Let's go to number 3 here for what the Athletic learned, that the offensive line is settled. And, this has been one that I feel like every time the offensive line gets brought up, in my mind, in the back of my mind, I just keep saying over and over, like, Mitch, you don't always have to say that we predicted it right, but I knew what it was. I knew what the Raiders' offensive line was the moment that Jackson Powers-Johnson ended up getting drafted, and not everybody said that he was going to play left guard. We knew right away, right? And that's going to be part of it. I will say this, though. People are busy. We're making a lot of content. If you want to check out all of our videos from June, you can click this button right here. I'll put a link in there. I know people watching live won't see anything. For everybody that's not watching this video live, you can click that link. Or if you are watching this live, that link's going to be available to you all down in the comments and in the description of today's show. When I tell you we put out 1 to 2 videos every single day, it's the God honest truth. So go to chatsports.com/RaidersJune 2024 to see every video that I made this month. So let's get in here what Tashan had to say about the Raiders' offensive line situation, which not going to come much as a surprise to a lot of y'all. Left tackle Colt Miller didn't practice during OTAs as he continues to recover from offseason shoulder surgery, but he'll undoubtedly return to the starting lineup once he's healthy. At that point, the starting lineup will be Colton Miller, Jackson Powers-Johnson, Andre James, Dylan Parham, and then Thayer Munford. Then Andres Pete will serve as a versatile backup who can play both tackle and guard positions. He's going to be on the left side. That's what Antonio Pierce said. And veteran guard Cody Whitehair will provide more insurance on the interior. It's hard to evaluate play in the trenches until Pats come on in training camp, but offensive line coach James Craig has already been impressed with the group. It was a challenge to learn the wide zone blocking scheme, but the players got the hang of it by the end of OTAs. And during OTAs, during minicamp, you're not going to see a lot of stuff with the offensive line and defensive line because the guys aren't really being all that physical. In training camp, you're going to see a little bit more of that zone blocking. And because of the zone blocking, I am actually very curious to see what the Raiders do at quarterback, because I do think the more mobile quarterback, the QB that can do more play action, that can move a little bit more, is the better fit in a Getsy offense, which is one of the reasons why I am betting on Gardner Minshew to win this battle. But I knew that the Raiders' offensive line was going to be JPJ when he was going to be on the left side. Really hoping Colton Miller and that shoulder injury is going to be okay by training camp. Fingers crossed on that one. But I do think that this offensive line is much better than what people are going to give it credit for. And, I thought that people were even a little bit tough on him last season. The offensive line this year is going to be better than what it was last season. Let's go to number 4 here for what the Athletic had learned, that the young core is on the rise. And, there's a lot of fans out there, myself included. We're sitting right now with about $34.1 million in salary cap space, and we're going, are they going to sign somebody? What? Are they going to make another move? Are we going to add anybody? And I think the reason why they haven't done it yet, and it was something that I talked about right after the draft, was I could see the Raiders not really adding a lot of talent during minicamp, during OTAs, because they want to evaluate that talent as much as they possibly can. And then right before training camp, you could see them add somebody. But this Raiders team has very, very high hopes for the young players. The Raiders have 11 projected starters who are still on their rookie contracts. Zamir White, Trey Tucker, Brock Bowers, Jackson Powers-Johnson, Dylan Parham, Thayer Munford, Malcolm Kuntz, Divine Diablo, Jack Jones, Nate Hobbs, and safety Trevon Merrick. If Aidan O'Connell and Jacorian Bennett win their respective position battles, they'll join that list. Additionally, the coaching staff expects significant contributions from other rookie-scale backups such as tight end Michael Mayer and defensive end Tyree Wilson. Now, I know that they're calling them backups. I know Bowers was drafted as a tight end, but I'm telling you all right now, I fully expect Bowers to take more snaps out of the slot, and I actually think that Mayer is going to take more snaps at tight end than Bowers ends up taking at tight end. So, the young core is on the rise. He's not wrong in that, and the Raiders do have a very good young core, and this is how great teams are made. When you have potentially 14 starters, the Raiders are going to have potentially 14 starters this season on rookie deals. There's a lot of really good names in that list. And when you have such a young team, you need a coach like Antonio Pierce, a coach that, fires you up, gives you confidence, and especially the confidence, but also allows you to go out there and have fun. It's important to be a businessman, right? Brock Bowers is a businessman, man. But it's also important to go out there and have fun, because that's when a rookie, especially a young guy getting thrown a lot of things at him, is more of a sponge and can absorb as much information as humanly possible. Speaking of Brock Bowers, if anybody wants a Raiders jersey, go to chatsports.com/Raiders jerseys. For those of you that are watching this video live right now, the last time that I checked, these jerseys are usually about $130, which the Bowers one is $130. Devontae, $74.99. It's pretty good, right? Chatsports.com/Raiders jerseys. The Max Crosby jersey, I actually think it's $99. That one's also on sale. But there's jersey deals. We have hundreds and hundreds of jerseys available. I know that when I'm making this, it's not Father's Day yet. Hey, if you're a dad and you're like, I didn't get myself anything, there you go. Chatsports.com/Raiders jerseys. The season's right around the corner, and I want to make sure that you guys aren't wearing a jersey. Ed, I love you, but you can do a better jersey than this. Ed, we're going to get you a better one. Let's go to number 5 here. Defense looks primed. And I knew that the defense was going to be a really, really good unit, and I was fired up. It was one of the reasons why I was, chanting for Antonio Pierce, chanting to hire and keep Patrick Graham. And I was so nervous that we were going to lose PG, because this defense, statistically, was one of the best defenses in the NFL. And I actually made a video on my Instagram, at Mitchell Renz 365. I also have a short on YouTube, which you guys can check out right here, of why I believe that this Raiders defense could be the number 1 defense in the NFL, and I list a few reasons why. So if you haven't checked that out yet, yes, we make regular videos, but then we also do these things called shorts, which are 60-second, quick videos. Check it out, why I think the Raiders defense could be the best in the NFL. Here's what Tashan Reed had to say on the Raiders defensive line. The Raiders D-line was good last season, but the addition of Wilkins gives the group a chance to be elite. Wilkins, John Jenkins, and Adam Butler combined to form a strong trio on the interior. Max Crosby and Kuntz are known commodities on the edge. I expect the Raiders' defensive line to be a top 5 unit right away. And if Tyree Wilson can take that next step, right? We're talking a lot about these young guys taking that next step. If Tyree Wilson ends up being the player that I think that he can be, we're not a top 5 defensive line. We're the best defensive line in the National Football League. And I can't wait to see what they fire it up. More here on the D-line, but they'll need Wilson to make significant strides to solidify the rotation at defensive end. Crosby has led the D-line for years, but now he is a running mate in Wilkins who can make it make the unit even better. Then one of the things that Tashan started talking about was the linebacker room, which he goes in, and this was actually a very, very interesting note, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show. Graham uses a nickel package as a base defense. So Diablo and Robert Spillane will take most of the snaps at linebacker. The Raiders view Luke Masterson as a third starting caliber linebacker and believe rookie Tommy Eichenberg can grow into a fourth. It looks to be a deep group. And I do think that it's going to be a deep group. But what I'm very interested in that is Tashan is reporting that the Raiders view Luke Masterson as the third linebacker. That tells me that he's going to make this roster. When I originally did my 53-man roster projection, I didn't have Masterson on it because his snaps significantly went down last season, especially on special teams and defense. He really did not play when Antonio Pierce took over. But if it's being reported that they view him as a linebacker 3, they're obviously going to keep Tommy Eichenberg. What does that mean for Amari Burney? Because I think Burney's going to be a good special teams player, and he wasn't drafted by this regime. Could be a player to keep an eye on as like, hey, if a team's willing to offer you a 7th-round pick in 2026, Burney could be a guy to keep in mind if they do view Masterson as the linebacker 3, and they only want to keep 4 linebackers on the roster. I'm just saying, thought that one was pretty interesting. Then keep going here on the defense. Throughout OTAs, the Raiders' defense was miles ahead of the offense. It's not surprising that it had an upper hand. It has significant advantage in terms of continuity. On the offense, still learning Getsy's system and spent most of OTAs with multiple projected starters, but that doesn't negate the fact that the defense has the potential to be dominant. Graham's unit has made real progress towards its goal of becoming great. And, you know, we were talking about this time and time again that the defense is light years ahead, and that's expected, right? The fact that you got second year with Patrick Graham, third year with PG, second year kind of going into it with Antonio Pierce, you're learning the brand new offense with your quarterbacks that are, you know, fairly new as well. I expected the defense to be miles ahead. We just really, really got to hope that the offense can catch up here a little bit, and hopefully some of that extra competition helps them out. So here's one more time what the Athletic learned. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show. This is kind of like a style video that we used to do back in our OG days, back when I actually got this jersey. I got this jersey. It's the first Raiders jersey I ever got back when we hit 10,000 subscribers on this show. Wild, wild thing. This might surprise you. This wasn't an Ed Robbins jersey all the time, but this is really, really cool that we've been able to grow the show as much as we have, but it's because we've started to do different shows, but I like doing shows based off of here's what a beat reporter says, here's what an NFL insider had to say, and here's my 2 cents. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button.